Cool.
Boom. Tough acting tonight.
Alright.
So this is our second outing with our adventure into long-form interviews with local businesses and people in the community that you should probably know if you live in St. Cloud. So this time around, we have my broker for Royal Realty Real Estate, Ian Rinehart here.
How you doing?
All right, it's been an interesting day. How about you? How was your day?
It's been a good day. It's been a good day.
That's
Yeah,
good.
Can't complain.
That's good. So I started doing this. My first guest was Kayla, the owner of OG Fitness. I'm planning to probably have your dad on the show and a couple other local businesses. So I just kind of want to give myself and whoever I'm interviewing a platform to plug their business or what it is they do in the community and hopefully get you out there, your message, and just get you more exposure. And myself, of course.
That's cool. I like that. That's cool.
So, I mean, if you want to jump right into questions, we can do that.
Sure.
So I started with my last interview asking about St. Cloud because that's where we are, that's where we operate, and for both you and I both, we've grown up here. So my first question to you was, I want to know a little bit about your upbringing in St. Cloud, what it means to you, and maybe even touch on the differences between when we were kids and now.
Okay. Yeah, so I grew up here in St. Cloud. I was born in Orlando, but lived here my whole life. Family's from here. My dad went to school here. He's been here since he was a kid. I've got all my cousins and family members here in St. Cloud. And, it's a family place. Well, it's grown a lot recently, but,
For sure.
it's definitely still a small, tight-knit community. And, yeah.
I think it's growing for us to not be a small community anymore, but for people still coming in, and I talk to my clients about this, and you might as well, is it still feels like a small town to a lot of people that are
Right.
used to a big city.
Right. Yeah. It hasn't changed. It hasn't changed too much. We've seen a lot of houses and new communities pop up in some areas that used to be farmland, but it still feels like St. Cloud.
So you said you grew up, what part of St. Cloud did you grow up in?
Right here, Canoe Creek Woods area,
Okay.
over here south of 192. Been in this area pretty much my whole life.
Okay. Did you move around a lot, or has this been pretty much home base right here by the brokerage? I mean, for those that don't know, we're right off Canoe Creek Road, which has always been a main road of transit from the Manor Estates all the way to the main highway of 192 and all the hustle and bustle of what we know of is St. Cloud. So,
Right.
Have you been primarily in this area? Have you moved houses? Where have you gone?
Yeah. So I've primarily lived in this area pretty much my whole life. It's kind of boring to say that, but so my mom lived on the coast of Florida, and my dad's always lived here in St. Cloud, and I pretty much lived with my dad my whole life.
Okay.
And so yeah, as boring as that might sound, I lived here in St. Cloud pretty much as long as I can remember. When I was 23, I bought. When I got my broker's license, I also bought a house, 2 houses down from the house I grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
So I've literally lived on the same street almost my whole entire life. And it's also right next to my brokerage too, so it's just,
That definitely helps.
it's very all close in proximity, and it might be boring, but I love it.
Yeah.
It's my side of, it's my piece of heaven, I guess.
I kind of agree in a sense of coming back to my roots of growing up in the manor and dealing with a lot of people that are out there selling their house, whatever reasons they have to move. I really like the idea of helping them move, but I like the idea of working where I know.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Where I know, I eat, I play, everything else, it's my own backyard, so I feel very comfortable there. And I think that, can you speak on, because I think it kind of, people can tell, when you're in front of them, when you're talking about it, like, do you think it helps us in business in this area if we're somewhat passionate about it?
Oh, 100%. 100%. Yeah, it helps to be passionate about whatever area you're in. Knowing the locals and knowing all the history of the place you're at is super important too, because you can tell people things that, stories that they're never going to hear from anybody else. Old man Jim down the road, or Susie, used to bring me cakes and candy when I was a little kid. I don't know, that might sound weird, but you get the point. You have stories that other people might not have, and sometimes the best way to connect with somebody is to tell them a story.
Yeah.
Because it's just more exciting. It's fun.
I also like the fact that this town's grown so much that when I talk to people about, someone will go to a restaurant and then I'll be like, oh, that used to be this place and then this place, and it was this place before that. I think during my last interview, Kayla said that she used to train at Gold's Gym, and I'm like, did you know that actually used to be the Publix?
Right.
And the Walmart was where the Tractor Supply was before we had a super center and before the bigger Publix went in next door. I don't even remember what was next door. I don't know if anything was. Do you remember?
Next door to?
Like right off where Old Canoe Creek Road meets 192.
Right. No, I mean.
Because Neptune used to be all land. Like I want to say it was just land, but I don't recall.
I remember, so I live across the street, and I remember even just watching the area where the brokerage is at was nothing but land when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
You look over and it's just empty fields. I think
Right.
the only thing that was here when I was a kid was like the church and the gas station, and it used to be a Citgo. And I used to know the owners, and they used to let me behind the counter, and it was Jay and Ray and Jay were their names. I think that was what it was. And every time I'd go in there, it was like we were like a family. I'd go in there, I'd run behind the counter, and I'd help them serve people, like even if it's just for a few minutes. But it was just like, it's so different now. But that comes with growth, and especially, here in St. Cloud, we're the second fastest growing city in the nation, with a population of over 50,000, I think it was.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy when you think about how small it used to feel. I mean, you're a kid, kind of everything feels small.
Right.
You don't really wrap your head around everything, but still, it goes away fast. And then hearing from kind of the old guard of like how much different it used to be in the 15 years leading up to when we were, kids, it's even crazier. I remember my parents tell me stories all the time, and I think your dad went to school with my aunt, who's only 1 year younger than my mother, so they're all the same age group. But my mother used to tell me stories of how they used to travel all the way up to 535 to go to the only 7-Eleven in town, which was by Disney. And that was it. They used to travel all that way just to go to 7-Eleven.
Just to go to a gas station.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely grateful for the growth. I like, being right next to Walmart and Publix and Sports Tavern, and the turnpike's right there. So I'm grateful for it. It's inevitable anyways. So
Yeah.
we just hope that it's good growth and that the infrastructure is there to support it.
It doesn't, I think in St. Cloud maybe, but I've noticed in Lake Nona that's a big problem.
Oh yeah. For
Because
sure.
we were talking about that on one of our last trips over there, how it used to just be one road all the way up with one 7-Eleven, and now we both said that the 7-Eleven's the only store that's closed.
Yep.
And Lake Nona has blown up like crazy, and the infrastructure for the roads just doesn't match.
Which is crazy because it's such prime real estate right there on the corner.
Yeah.
Where that 7-Eleven is. That's like, whoever owns that is going to sell it for buku money.
I'm sure. So speaking of that, that's actually a very good transition, and knowing in that, because my second question I had for you was, why real estate? Is it something you just decided to do and then you grew into it, or was it a conscious decision of like, because I don't know if anyone wakes up in the morning and they're like, you know what, at 9 and 10 is like, I want to be a salesman.
I want to be a sales
something
associate.
that's not really anything that happens. So talk to me about your start and where you are now in it, and how that journey of liking it and even finding a passion in it has come to fruition.
Yeah, so that's a pretty interesting story. I actually got into it by an accident. I got into real estate by accident. It wasn't necessarily on purpose. I was fresh out of high school, and I always tell a story about my rich dad, who his name is Mike Ross, and he's big into real estate, and I always knew him as the entrepreneur, even when I didn't even know what that word meant. And I was looking into getting into architecture and stuff like that. I was going to college. I had ran a couple really small businesses, pressure washing. I helped my buddy do landscaping. I sold sunglasses. I flipped sunglasses.
You told me that story. That's a very good story.
Yeah, for another day. But the one day for my graduation out of high school, he bought me my real estate course.
Okay.
And so, I kind of took forever to pass it. I took as much time as I could. I literally waited till it was about to expire. And I was like, okay, it's about to expire. I gotta, get this done so I don't waste the money. Got it done, got my license, first try, studied really hard. And then, I just kind of got into the environment, and at that time it was a buyer's market, believe it or not. That was in 2015.
Okay.
It was a little more of a buyer's market. And so, the only thing I really did was open houses, and I just loved it. It was like, there's no pressure. I was actually helping people, and then that feeling of going to the bank with a huge check and helping people at the same time was just like this feeling that was indescribable.
All right.
And I've always been the type to want it all, I guess I would say, right?
Okay.
So I liked the idea that the sky, there was no limit.
Yeah.
Right, there's no limit in real estate, and there's no limit in most sales. So it's all about how dedicated you are to learning your field and to studying sales, and that's exactly what real estate is. So yeah, I got into it on accident. I fell in love with it, and it's been 7, almost 8 years since I started, and it's been a hell of a journey, and I'm super duper blessed that it's happened this way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, really, you're just getting started, right? Like 8 years seems like a lot to me for someone who just started, right? But for
Right.
you, that's just you finding your footing.
Right. So one of the things that I hear a lot of people say is you're still a new agent. You're not a veteran agent until you've been doing it for at least 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's like some ridiculous amount of numbers, like 90-something% of people will drop out of real estate within their first 5 years.
Okay.
So yeah, keep that in mind. So like I just became like an experienced agent,
Right.
Even though I've been doing it for 8 years. But what got you into real estate?
I've told this story before a little bit. I guess I can touch on it in a little different sense, but it was actually, I didn't it's not like I woke up and I was like, I'm just gonna do real estate. I mean, and like have a passion for it or anything else. It was more, I had the money. I was super interested in personal growth and making small little investments in myself.
Mm-hmm.
So right before I got my real estate license, I got my life and health insurance sales license, which took me, I was studying at my own pace, so it took me 6 months to get. And I was like, you know what, I have some money, I'm gonna keep investing in myself and in my future. So I took, I think, $500, $600, however much the course was in person, because I was like, if I'm gonna get another certification, I don't want to take another 6 months to do it.
Right.
I just wanna get the 42 hours done as quick as I can and then see if I can pass the test. And that's really all it took, is I put my mind to it, and then 6-7 months later I had accomplished it. But it wasn't like I'm gonna get into real estate. I mean, I knew real estate agents made good money,
Or so it looks like it anyways.
yeah, yes, but it was just a whim. It was just kind of, I was doing a lot at the time to just, I've been on a personal journey of development for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just kind of another small step in investment in myself to like, hey, let's go for it, see if it works out, see if, what I can get out of it, is essentially all it was. But with that, I didn't think I'd like it as much as I do. Like, I know it's kind of, and at times it can be stressful. I think any job you really throw yourself into is stressful because you immerse yourself so much in it. But I found passion in it, in like you were saying, in helping people. Like, I didn't realize how much we actually, or real estate agents actually help people. It was always
Right.
kind of sold to me as, oh, it's a job and this is the job.
It's sales, yeah.
It was never sold to me as no, you can literally actually help people along in their life journey, get to
Right.
where they need to be, because I always knew, I heard a long time ago, and then it's funny enough now that I'm in real estate to be able to reiterate it, which is a home is the largest purchase you're ever gonna make in your life. And it's more expensive than a car, and if you can afford an expensive car, you're probably gonna buy a more expensive house. So it's literally the most expensive purchase you're ever gonna make in your life.
Oh,
So it's a huge deal to anyone who's buying or selling a house. So it's a huge life step, and a kind of a stepping stone in whatever life journey you're taking, whether you're downsizing,
Right.
upsizing, wherever you gotta be. And that's where I find my passion in it, is helping people along in their journey, because they're also helping me along in mine,
Right.
in business and in life. We're each helping each other get to where we need to be. So I'm finding my passion in that. That's why I like doing it. But as for, like I said, waking up in the morning when I'm just being like, I'm gonna go be a salesman now. That was never a thing, ever. I mean, if anything, that was one of the things I least wanted to do, because I never fancied myself any kind of a salesman.
Mm-hmm.
But I find that whatever you're good at, you know, you've talked about playing to your strengths, you can apply that to any field in any industry, in any endeavor, and kind of still be decent at it, because that's you bringing yourself to the table, and nobody can get what is meant for you because they're not you.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I look at it, and that's the way I have kind of faith in the process of being a salesman or just being in real estate. It's kind of like on a deeper level, it's just how I operate in life. And if I'm a salesman, then I gotta kind of find a way to be a salesman, but also be myself, you know, because you're selling yourself, but you also have to be different. So
Yeah, your personality has to shine through.
yeah, and it sets you apart from everyone else. So in your experience, how has it helped you? Have there been any instances where you felt like, you know, not just, oh, this was meant for me, but like, I don't know if anybody else could have did that, you know, not necessarily patting yourself on the back with it, but just figuring it out and learning, like, can you speak on it?
Yeah, so, well, you know, one of the things you said earlier was sometimes, you know, it could be hard or it could be tough.
Right.
And I think that's what makes it fun, because anything you do that's just like super easy,
Yeah.
it's usually not fun.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you like to feel a little bit of resistance in anything you do, because, you know, that's what makes it exciting once you push past that.
Challenge it.
Challenging,
I think
yeah.
you have to have some kind of challenge.
Yeah, and you know, we say this is a sales business, and technically it is, but it's more of, you know, even as just a real estate agent, a realtor, you're running a business, right? You are doing sales, but it's more about running your business, because there's so many different ways you can get sales, and there's so many different things you can do to better your business, that you have to think about it as, for every real estate agent out there listening, think about it as you're running your own personal real estate business. So if it's, you know, yes, you work for a brokerage, you know, Royal Realty, but it's Dalton Albritton's real estate business.
Right.
And when you think about it that way, it's much more than just sales. It's your good reputation. It's the way you help people. It's the way people perceive you. It's your branding. It's your marketing, and of course, it's your sales. But at the end of the day, I think you know, the most important thing is when you do face those hard times, that you just remember why you do it, why you're doing it.
Right.
So if you don't have a big enough why, that's why so many people fail, because they get into it thinking, oh, it's gonna be this easy thing where I make a lot of money, I drive nice cars, and you know, that's it. It's gonna be so easy, and I'm just gonna make a bunch of money. And anytime anybody sells you that dream of easy, you know, and lots of money,
it's never worth it. If it's easy, it's not worth it. Yeah. And I think that rings true. It's a cliche thing to say, but I do believe, for the most part, in a lot of things, it's true. And you know, if it was easy, I mean, heck, if this was easy, everyone would do it, right?
Well, I read a quote today, so funny we say that. I read a quote today, they say, you know, the activities that we do in real estate are actually really easy to do, but they're also really easy not to do.
That's good.
So when you think about it that way, it's like, okay, it's not like rocket science. I'm not in here, you know, performing surgery. You didn't have to go to 8 years of college to do this, you know, but the things that are so easy to do are also so easy not to do.
Right.
And nobody is sitting, you're not gonna get fired if you don't show up to work today, right? So it's so easy not to come in. It's so easy not to make your calls. It's so easy not to do your social media videos, or to look at your business objectively like a business, and to just fly by the seat of your pants. It's so easy to not do things. So that's what makes it, you know, challenging for most real estate agents.
I actually really like that quote, because it's so true. And it also made me think of something else. Another kind of quote I like is, you know, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. Like, every real estate agent has the same job. They're all doing the same what, but not.
My dad actually says that all the time.
Yeah,
He'll say,
how do you do it?
The way you do anything is the way you do everything.
Yeah, and that's a quote I very much like, and I live by as well. But it rings true for me personally in everything I've ever thought about. It's just like, in in business, in personal life, in everything, it's just like, I mean, anybody can do anything anybody else can do, if that makes sense. But you bringing yourself to the table, that's how you do it. You know, that's what people don't forget, and that's what people remember is how you do things, not what you do for the most part. And that's what makes you kind of, that's the best way to become irreplaceable in a sense, is if someone really enjoys how you do something, not just what you do.
Well said. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all about how.
Yeah.
The effort and the level of care you put into things.
So you touched a little bit earlier about, you know, what your journey starting out in business. So we kind of touched about that thus far. So moving forward, like you've done a lot, you know, you've been a pretty successful real estate agent. Now going forward, being a real estate broker, what has that journey been like, and what are your goals for that? Like, you know, and touch a little bit on, did you ever really meet your goals as an agent to transition into being a broker?
Yeah, so my goals as an agent was to every year do better than I did last year.
It's fair.
And it wasn't like this really specific goal. It was just like, I knew if I was doing better or if I wasn't.
Right.
And so, you know, my first year, my goal was to sell 12 houses, a house a month. It was like just this really easy, bland goal. And I actually didn't sell any houses the first 6 months.
Okay.
But those first 6 months, I'd spent 3 months, you know, training and learning things. And then the next 3 months, I had spent actually going out and trying to get business.
Right.
And in those 3 months, it had set me up for the rest of the year. And that's how this business works, is it's what you do now doesn't pay off 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, a year, 2 years down the road.
I'm having trouble with that now.
Right.
Because I'm so completely immersed,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a business where you don't get instant gratification, which I like. Don't get me wrong, I like that, because I think instant gratification is very misleading in a lot of senses. But for me personally, I am running into that now. But
Yeah, most people, they clock into work and they get those hours that day and they get paid that week or that month. And
Right.
That's not how this is done, but that's why we make more money, and that's why the sky's the limit. And that's why this is probably more enjoyable too, is because you don't know how much you're gonna make, but you know how much effort you could give.
yeah,
And you're gonna get paid based on your effort and your care and diligence with people that you deal with. But so my goals were always just to be a little bit better, and every year I got better and
Sure.
better and better. You know, if it was 10% or 20% or 30%, some years were better than others. But definitely becoming a broker is a totally different ball game. And my goal with that was to, because I had so many friends when I first opened up who were into real estate, was to get them to a point where they were at least doing what I had accomplished, which was, you know, 12 houses a year.
okay,
And 12 houses a year is a really good living. If you're doing, you know, 12 houses at, let's just say, $5,000 on average, you're making a living. And yeah, you're not gonna be rich doing that, but as a young guy or a young girl,
yeah.
a young person, 60, 70 grand a year, that's really, really good. And you can keep building off that and keep getting better and keep scaling your business.
it's almost too much, I think. For some people, in some instances, it's a great living, don't get me wrong, but at that age, for some people, that's too much. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole different conversation of responsibility, but it is what it is, right?
Yeah, well, you can definitely, you can definitely get into the wrong things by making too much money, I guess. But, you know, a big part of it was taxes too. So, you know, a lot of people, when they come into real estate, they're used to like having their taxes taken out for them, and, you know, usually you're not thinking, oh, I gotta save my money for taxes.
Yeah,
But this is a little different, right? You're an independent contractor, so you're responsible for your own taxes. And if you make 70 grand and you owe the IRS 20%, you better damn sure have that 20% saved up.
yeah.
So you know, the way I did it when I was making a lot of money is I would take each check and I would divvy it up into like a pie. You know, I'd have, this section is gonna go into my savings, this section's gonna go
Sure.
into my bills, this section's gonna go into my investments. And, you know, it was always like, okay, how little can I put into my checkings that I'm actually gonna allow myself to spend, and how much can I put into everything else, my savings, my
Right.
investments. And so I always just did it that way, and I just tried to live below my means. I think if you do that when you first get started, you'll be really, really well off. You know, it's all about building that goose egg in the beginning, that nest. And, you know, eventually you're gonna have money to spend and invest back into your business, which is the important thing, because in the beginning, you need to do everything organically and get used to generating your own leads and generating your own income and what's coming in. And then eventually you start getting really, really busy, and you need to pay for leads, and you need to pay for other people to do certain things because you're so busy doing those tasks that actually make you money.
Right. And so, for business, what are your goals as a broker? Like, where do you want this to go? Where, speak a little bit on where it is from the time you started till now, and then where you want it to go in the future.
So it's actually really similar goals. It's always to do better than I did last year. And last year we did really good. We did pretty good last year. We did, I can't give you an exact number, but it was better than what I expected for our first year as a brokerage.
Okay.
And so my goal this year is to do better.
Right.
And it's actually, the goal is to do 2 times better, but as long as I do better, I'll be happy with myself.
Sure.
And I think that's just how my mind works.
I mean, I think the best competition is the competition you have with yourself, right?
100%.
It's tough, because I find that a lot of people will speak on responsibility, but they all often talk about the responsibilities that other people are watching them perform.
Mm-hmm.
At least in my experience, some of it has been people that think they're responsible, and I don't mean this negatively, but like, there's a whole different level of responsibility when you're being responsible when no one's watching, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is what you do and how you conduct yourself when nobody's looking. Like, if you're trying to pay your rent on time, of course there's going to be consequences of that, but someone's watching it, But if you can police your own actions and do well when no one's looking, it's a whole nother level of responsibility. And I think in this industry, or for any business owner that really wants to get somewhere, competing with yourself on that level, you're always kind of doing something when someone's not looking to prepare you for the next step.
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of a way. So I think that self-competition, that self-drive, because I can speak on that all day, the drive to get you to the next level and competing with yourself is a very good thing to have. And not a lot of people have it. And
For sure.
It's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, for sure. Not a lot of people stick to their guns when nobody's watching.
Right.
So if you're one of those people, make sure people are always watching.
Or at least feel like someone is always watching.
Yeah,
I would say, or I would think.
Well, it's human nature to relax or to let off the gas a little bit when no one's watching.
Right.
Just to touch on that point. And I think a big thing really is just showing up.
Yeah.
That's half the battle. You show up, you put yourself in a position of opportunity, and then the other half of the battle is executing.
Right.
But the first half is showing up. And so as long as you show up to work and you show up to your business plan, right? Whatever it is you said, if you were going to go door knock, if you said you were going to do open houses, if you said you were going to do social media, whatever that is, like, show up to do it.
Yeah.
And then worry about executing it. But just make sure you show up first.
Yeah, to speak on a deeper level of that, is just staying true to your word, right? It's like, if you say you're gonna do it, and it's good if people are watching and you say you're gonna do it, because then you have people to hold you accountable.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a very good thing. Like,
So I actually want to touch on that. So a big thing in that's worked for me is having an accountability partner.
Mm-hmm.
So whether that's your coach or a friend of yours, or for me it was my father.
Mm-hmm.
Having someone who is brutally honest with you.
Sure.
Hey, you're slacking. Hey, did you do what you said you were going to do? Hey, I noticed you didn't do what you said you were going to do. Like, that person, you're going to butt heads with them, but they are going to be so good for your future and for your growth.
Right.
That it's well worth butting heads every once in a while.
Yeah.
And I've been so blessed to have that in my life with a couple of different people. And
Yeah.
That is for sure one thing. If you can get someone to do this with you,
Mm-hmm.
that is going to probably take you further. I like this quote that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Yeah.
So I like that one a lot, and I think that applies to real estate as well.
And I think it's a good lead into my next couple of questions, but before I get to the actual question on it, I mean, it can really be lumped in together because my next topic was the team aspect of the team we have here. So, you know, I think that plays into a lot to your role as a leader is like having someone, I think the best leaders have had good leaders.
Yeah.
And to play into the team aspect of that, like what is your view on a team? What do you expect from a team? What kind of teams do you like to be on? I mean, is it cut evenly across the board, or, you know, do you carry your own weight and pull everyone with you? Like what's your feeling on team and team mentality?
So you really definitely want both of those things. You want to carry, so here's a interesting, so me and my dad, we've been a team since we pretty much started. I was only like a small period of time where I was doing real estate by myself, but our motto was always, we're two people doing the work of three.
Okay.
So it wasn't two people doing the work of two people, right? It was, I pulled my weight and his. He pulled his weight and mine.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what that does is it creates a little bit of competition too, because you're like, hey, I sold more houses in this one. You're like, damn it, I got to pull my weight around here, and then
Right.
you're gonna go sell more houses, and you know what that does is it generates an income of abundance, really. I mean, so my stance on teams, what I want for you guys and for the team is to at least, and I say at least, replicate myself and my success into you guys. And then obviously give you all the tools you need to take it wherever you want to take it.
Right.
But I want the team to be well off, like not just making a living, right? Like
Yeah.
you could sell probably 5 or 6 houses a year and live,
Right.
but you're not going to be happy. You're not going to get the car you want to get. You're not going to get the house you want to get. You're not going to take the vacation you want to take. You know, and I want that for the team. And I think a team is supposed to motivate each other and to hold each other accountable and to lift each other up. And you know, we rise by lifting others.
Right. That's a quote here in your office.
I'm actually looking at it right now.
Yeah. Probably a good reason why.
And
you
there is
said
no elevator to success. You have to take the
it.
stairs.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
I mean, and sometimes you get a lot of people to stare at you. So
Yeah, that's true.
I've had that a lot recently with some of the stunts I've pulled just to put myself out there and let people know what I'm doing. You know, and
You got to be bold.
Yeah, and that's obviously a current topic on this because that was a huge conversation piece the first time I did that.
Right.
Kayla had a very good point of saying, you know, someone told her once, just, you know, and I'll quote her directly here, give no fucks, just be bold and do what you need to do and don't care, you know, and there's very good books on that exact reason.
I think somebody just walked into our office.
I did hear the door.
Hello?
Hello.
It's Jay. It's Jeremiah.
It is.
But yeah, for sure. So the number one thing I think is when you're being bold, you still have an image that you have to uphold, and everyone's image of themselves is different. But I think in real estate, it's important to be personable and to have your niche of people that, you know, we call it your avatar. Who is your avatar? Who's your demographic? Even though in real estate, you know, you're not really supposed to, you know, discriminate or anything like that, but you still have a certain person that is attracted to you because of your unique boldness.
Well, they touched on this at one of the seminars I went to in Lake Nona. Is they have a saying up there that's niches get riches.
Mm-hmm.
So it's having a niche. You know,
careful saying that. Don't get your tongue twisted. Yeah, so you know, upholding your image, deciding what that is. For me, when I first started real estate, one of the things that everybody told me is, "Oh, you're a new agent. People are going to choose people who are experienced over a new agent." And I said, "Okay, well, maybe, but I've talked to a lot of agents who aren't new, and they didn't do anything or have anything special. There was nothing different that they were doing that I wasn't doing.
Right.
You know, maybe they'd sold a couple more houses than me, but so I just played that up. I use it to my advantage. A lot of people will try to hide the fact that they're a new agent. I went full force with it. I was like, this is my marketing here. I'm a brand new agent. Like, I care so much about this one deal. Like, I'm gonna make this deal
It's your life's
perfect.
purchase, yeah.
My life's
your life's
purpose.
purpose, yeah.
Right.
At that point, it is, because it's
yeah.
it's what you have to do.
So I was always like super charismatically transparent about it.
Okay.
Excited about it. Hey, look, you be my first listing. Hey, you're gonna be my first buyer. Or hey, I just started this year.
And some people like that because it shows your hunger, and they want someone who's not going to be lackluster and sit around. They want someone who's going to go after it.
So what is the things that I always tell the team in real estate? You're two things. Do you remember what those two things are over everything else?
Now I'm
Number
on the
one,
spot.
you're a market expert.
Market expert. Yeah.
Number two, you're a lead generator.
I knew the lead generator could have.
The first things first is you're a market expert. So it doesn't matter how new you are. If I'm studying the market and I'm studying the trends, because real estate is always changing.
Sales price is down 7% in the last month.
See?
And 3% over the last 3 months. So the market, it might be leveling out, but not so much, because there's still plenty of buyers out there.
Do you know how smart that makes you sound to the average person?
I'll find out.
You're brilliant. It makes you sound like an expert. And that's the whole point, is I can be brand new in this industry and still be an expert. All I have to know is what there is to, what people actually care about. They want to know that I'm a market expert. Do I know what's happening in my city? Do I know the prices? Do I know if it's a buyer's market or a seller's market? Do I know what type of offers are being accepted? What are the trends?
Yeah.
And if you know those things, it doesn't matter if you're brand new, day one, or if you're 30 years in the business. The day one person can outshine the person who's 30 years in the business, because this person who's 30 years in the business might be stuck 5, 10, 20, 30 years ago thinking it's, the same as it used to be. But really, this market is ever changing.
Yeah, and I've noticed that diving into it is, even since October, it just seems like it's been all over the place. And I've had to pitch it every which way because, it's up for interpretation, but, you have to be on top of it more than the person that you're talking to, which most of the time you are, because you're in it.
Right.
And you're watching it and you're studying it. But a lot of people, I find that going to, and I wasn't sure if we were going to get to the topic of, informing people or not, but I find that informing people as an agent, it surprises me a lot when people are kind of, they don't know what they don't know. So being an informative person very much helps, but running into objections in this industry is very difficult for me on a level, because all I want to do is help people and give them the information, and some people don't want the information. They just want to be kind of stuck where they're at and think what they think and everything else. And I know that's not really politically correct to say, or may not help my business model or anything else, but I find the human to human interaction can be kind of difficult. So one, touch on that, but also touch on a deeper level. You're very successful at this. So how many times have you had to kind of humble yourself and check your ego at the door with dealing with people?
I wouldn't say all the time, but I've definitely experienced it. When you go into any encounter with somebody who's a potential client, you really want to come in on an even playing field.
Mm-hmm.
You want them to see you as an equal. And so, when you try to sound like you know so much more than them, or they know more than you,
right,
you're really going to offset the balance there. Because they need to be able to trust you as an expert and as a professional, but they also most people don't want to work with someone who's like a cocky, asshole.
Sure.
Right?
I mean, why would you?
So you always, every time you meet someone, you have to check your ego at the door. Mm-hmm. And just make sure that, this is just another person, right? They're not a client. This isn't a sale. It is. You got to use sales. But, the most important thing is making a connection with someone.
Absolutely.
And I think even though this is a numbers game, and even though, there are things that are quantifiable about, doing sales in this business, at the end of the day, it's all about how many connections you made. And so if you're
Right.
meeting with people and not making connections, that's why you're not getting business. So I can meet with one person and make a great connection and get the sale, or someone else can meet with 10 people and fly through it and treat it as if it's just another sale and not make any sales from it, not get any
Right.
listings. So at the end of the day, I definitely try to check my ego at the door every time, no matter how big or small of a listing or buyer that I'm working with, because sometimes you walk into a big listing and you go, oh my God, this might be too much for me. You know, I've never done this before or whatever. And that too, you need to come in on an even playing field. This is just another person.
Right.
And even though it's a bigger house than whatever you've sold before, it's still just a house.
Yeah.
And it's all pretty much the same, right? So trying to come in on an even playing field every time is very important. Now you do need to establish not dominance, don't establish your dominance, but you do need to take lead and take charge at certain points and control the conversation's direction at points.
Right.
You know, I've heard a lot about that in the book that you recommended to me by Jordan Belfort.
Yeah.
The Way of the Wolf, right?
Right. And
Yeah, they talk a lot.
it kind of, I wouldn't say it gets in the way of rapport, but it gets a little tricky to toe that fine line of leading the sale, but also making a connection and building rapport. You can do both at the same time, but it's tricky. And
Yeah.
And you actually gave me a light bulb moment in my head when it comes to connection is, you know, I read a quote not too long ago was if you want every sale, you're gonna be disappointed because you're never gonna get every sale. But that also, you gotta figure and put yourself in other people's shoes. Maybe they connected with another agent better than they connected with you, and not to take, you know, you should never take rejection personally,
Right.
you know, and it's just, if that connection wasn't there, you just move on and hope you can make it with the next one. So that's a good thing for me right here in this moment that I just light bulb moment had and realized that I can take forward, you know.
Right.
It's a little bit of an ego death, as we were
Yeah.
talking about ego.
Yeah, you have to check it, you know, and so yeah, that was a big thing for me. You know, I would walk into a lot of listings. Obviously, in the beginning, you've never sold a house before, so it doesn't matter where you start. It's like the whole thing is bigger than you,
Yeah,
and it's really not. It's really just you and another person trying to accomplish the same goal, which is sell their house for the most amount of money, or get them the house that they love.
right,
And so it's just two people working together to accomplish a goal.
yeah,
And you bring all the expertise and resources that you bring to the table, and that's it. There's not much else to it other than connecting with the person.
right, and that always helps. Yeah, I think it was your dad actually either shared something or said something that I now find true, and I think it was, and I said this to Kayla and she agreed because she's a small business owner as well, but it's easy to make a friend out of a client than a client out of a friend. And I found that to be very true, because it's tough to,
true.
you know, it's tough to bring your friends on board. They're usually unless like we're friends in this office, you know, so we can talk to each other about real estate, but good luck trying to pitch your job to a friend, you know, that you've known for a while or anything else.
Friends will usually, when you bring business into friendships, they'll either disappoint you or frustrate you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've made a lot of clients friends, but I've not, friends into clients is pretty rare.
Yeah.
So definitely, but your friends can get you business. So as long as you
Sure.
guys, market to your sphere and
I've experienced that on a couple different occasions thus far,
Yeah.
for sure.
yeah,
You know, it just brings true to the testament of putting yourself out there. Like, people need to know what you're doing, regardless of it's real estate or whatever else. But if you want to grow, you're gonna have to invite people in to help you grow.
asking for help.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't be afraid to ask for help. A lot of people, might be afraid to ask for help, and people's natural inclination is to help other people.
Yeah.
So if you ask for it, you will get it. Yeah.
So my next touch point, PowerPoint, bullet point, whatever you want to call it here, would just be passions. I spoke a little bit about finding my passion in real estate and helping people, and you did a little bit too. So is there any other passions in your professional life that you have or that you found in doing this? I mean, transitioning, you can even touch on transitioning from a salesman to a broker. Like, have you found passions in leadership and in helping others? I mean, you help us all day, all the time, That's just what a leader does. So talk to me a little bit about your professional passions and then some personal ones as well.
Yeah, no, you gotta be passionate. And actually, I have the word in Latin tattooed on me.
Yeah.
Passio.
Do you know what it roughly translates to?
Passionate warrior.
Well, yes.
Or suffering.
Yes,
Suffering warrior.
suffering.
Right.
Yeah.
Passion is Latin it's suffering.
Yes.
Um,
And not a lot of people know that. That's why I like to ask that question. That's why the movie is called The Passion of the Christ,
right.
because it's about the suffering.
Right.
You have to, and I've talked to this about with a couple people, you have to suffer to really get something out of life, in some
You're
way.
going to suffer no matter what.
Yes.
Life is suffering.
Yes.
If you ever listen to Jordan Peterson, he talks about that.
Trust me, yeah.
Yeah.
But he got the quote from Buddha.
Right.
It's a truth. But to touch on that, and just what I was saying is, not a lot of people understand passion. It's like, if you're not suffering, then you're not passionate about what you're doing, in my estimation.
Right. And for passion, I think it's really just, you're going to suffer no matter what. It's about suffering for things that you are dedicated to, or that you want to suffer for.
The sacrifice, right?
Yeah. So, if you're not suffering for something you want to suffer for, you're going to suffer for something you don't want to suffer for.
I agree. Yeah.
And so you have to choose and make wise decisions on what that is. And then ultimately you got to see if it's worth it to you, because every day, it's ups and downs. And I think that's what makes it fun. And that's what life is, ups and downs. And so, doing that in line with what you think is going to aid to your future.
Right.
That's pretty much all you can do is have an aim and a vision for the future, and hopefully suffer in that direction.
Yeah, and I think that's crucial, is to have a target. They touch on this in church, and you brought up Jordan Peterson, but the word hamartia is to sin. The sin is to miss the mark. Mm-hmm. So that really means that you have to have a target. You have to have something you're aiming at, or you're always going to miss the mark. And at least that's rung true for me a lot, in my personal development and my personal journey of growth, and in my adult life. It's like, I've lived through instances where I had no direction and I had no point of reference that I was aiming at, and it shows, because I know both sides of that coin now.
Right. We've all been there.
Right.
We've all been in that position where, what am I doing? What am I gonna do? And a lot of people will get analysis paralysis, where there's so many different options, and you're thinking about everything, and it's like, just choose something, stick with it, and if 10 years from now it's not what you want to do anymore, then choose something else. But you have to stick with things, and as a man, I think it's important that you live with your decisions. So when you make a decision, you stick with it and you ride it out.
Stare decisis, stand by your decisions.
Yes. And suffer and be passionate about those things that you decide on, and to have values is important too.
Oh, absolutely. And I'll touch on this a little bit after I dig a little deeper to your personal passions outside of work, because I think you and I are a lot alike in all we do is work.
Yeah.
And people don't really often see us have fun, so they don't really know what we do for fun. Like, what are we passionate about outside of work? So touch a little bit on that. I mean, obviously, we have fun at work, so that's why we're passionate about it. Not a lot of people can say that, and I think that shows.
Right.
So touch a little bit on outside of work. What are your passions?
Yeah,
what are you building outside of work? What do you like to do?
Right. People are going to cringe, but work is my passion.
Same.
And it's also my personal passion.
It's kind of the same for me, like building, just building myself into something better, and work is the best way to do that. But
and it's growing and getting better at what I'm doing, whatever that might be. So for me, it's obviously my business, so my real estate business. I have a couple of side businesses that I'm working on growing. I also have, personally, outside of work, I'm still working. I like working out.
Right, you're always
still
working
work.
on something. Yeah.
And boxing. I love boxing, and I used to do jiu-jitsu. I know you're doing jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, that was something I wanted to touch on a little bit, and we can give a couple local shout-outs touching on that. But
White House, BJJ in boxing for me. My coach Anthony, and all those guys over there, they're great people. And, I miss it. I hurt my back. So,
Right.
I herniated a disc in my back. So I haven't been doing jujitsu in the last year or two, but I do miss it. Like, I love choking people out.
Yeah.
Yes, and breaking people's arms.
It is fun. It is very fun.
But, no, boxing is great. Working out is another thing. I think I love things that there are really no final destination to.
Sure.
So like, in business, like same reason that I loved real estate when I first started, because there was no ceiling. You can make as much money as you put in effort. And it's the same thing with working out and bodybuilding. It's the same thing with boxing and jujitsu. It's like there's no such thing as an end.
Yeah.
Like there's no final
Well,
destination.
that's because you're always learning, right? Like you choose to learn about it. You choose to learn more on it. You choose to learn more about yourself in those situations. And I think that plays into people that want to learn as much as they can.
Mhm.
I think those people are the ones that succeed at all of that because there's always something more to learn and there is no ceiling on learning. That's my interpretation of it personally. But I'm with you there. I wake up early because I want to work on my mindset and just have my time to walk at the lake and do what I want. And I want to be, I'm still a little bit of an introvert because I like being at the lake when nobody else is walking, and that's peaceful to me. And then when I work out, I actually like that I'm in a gym where there's not a lot of people around. I can do it myself. If I need help, there's people there that are actually a close-knit community that are there to help me. And then I just like working, and that was part of the reason that I was gonna bring this up. Part of the reason I chose working here as opposed to a huge company is, maybe it's because I'm family oriented, maybe it's because I've had close people around me my whole life, same as you. I like two things. I like this close-knit family aspect of this brokerage. We're always very much here to help each other. And I also like the idea of getting into something on the ground floor and growing with it.
I was gonna say, we want to be a huge company one
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
One day.
And I love the idea of getting in on something on the ground floor and rising with it,
Helping
and
build
growing
something.
with it. Yeah.
I think that's important. And I think a big thrust to my perceived success is not wanting to be the same as I was yesterday.
Sure.
Like in anything I do, it was like I have, in anything I do, it's like you never want to be in the same spot.
Right.
That's what scares me the most. It's like fear, really, that drives me. I don't want to be the same as I was yesterday.
I can relate. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to be. It's always be better.
Right.
I touched on that earlier, and I think it's mostly driven by fear of staying the same.
Sure. Yeah. Because I mean, me personally, I've spoken on this a little bit, but for me, having a new lease on life essentially in my life's journey has caused me to analyze where I was before and how nothing ever changed. And the only change that came out was maybe possibly negative. So now that I'm moving in the other direction and I'm choosing to change things positively, is I never want to be stagnant again.
Right.
And it's not that I don't want to be comfortable or anything like that, but I guess maybe I don't want to be too comfortable where something comes along and it knocks everything out of control and out of proportion. But I'm a lot like you in the fact is I just want to be better, and I want to do more, and I don't want to be stagnant.
Right. Yeah.
And I see a lot of people go through that, and to each their own, everyone's journey is different, but I don't want to get stuck in one spot. And you've said this to me before, and we've talked about it, is, I think you had mentioned to me that you just believe that not just momentum, but moving. You always want to be moving. You've said that to me before, just in a physical concept. It's
Right.
like, I'm always moving, I'm always doing something, I don't want to be in the same place, which could be interpreted as, that big idea in your actions into a small idea, it's just like, I want to be moving, so I always got to be moving every minute of every day, and that, moving forward into the future.
Right.
Momentum.
It's all about momentum.
And to that, it's about momentum, because if you're building and building and building, you have a train of momentum going forward.
Right.
And that's honestly something I've learned from working with you is like, focus on that momentum.
Yes, 100%.
And if something goes wrong, don't take it personally,
Right,
because you have
because-
a lot of momentum behind you.
Well, yeah, and because momentum will work in either direction.
Yeah.
So when you're not doing things, it's easy to not do things because that's where momentum is taking you.
Right.
When you're showing up every day and you're doing the things you know you're supposed to be doing, it's much more easier to keep doing that because that's where momentum is taking you.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, momentum is so important to focus on. And inevitably you're gonna hit a wall with your momentum, but to push through and build it back up again, that's where it's all at.
Yeah,
That's the important thing.
I think for me, it's the same concept, but I always think of spiral. Either you're spiraling out and you're growing, or you're spiraling downward and you're losing something.
That's a good point, yeah.
Yeah, and that's how my brain interprets that kind of momentum feeling is, you're either spiraling out and you're growing and you're going, or you're spiraling downward and you need to course correct or self-control or anything like that. So, I mean, getting into a little bit of a deeper conversation here with that will kind of pushes us along to my next topic, which is, all of this comes to fruition by having belief in yourself and faith in your abilities and faith that it'll work out, and purpose. I think you and I, especially you more so, maybe earlier on than me, you act like, you have a purpose. Can you touch on that a little bit? Is it clear to you what that purpose is, or do you just go by faith that it'll come to you?
Both. Sometimes the purpose is really, really clear, and then sometimes you have to have faith.
Yeah.
Because that's the reality is sometimes you'll lose sight of what your purpose is, and you have to have faith that doing the right things and being a good person, that things are going to work out for you, and that opportunity is going to present itself. You just have to allow that to happen.
Yeah.
And so faith is a huge part of it. Your purpose is huge, and I think a lot of people, when they hear us talk about purpose, they maybe tune out because they've heard it a billion times. Everyone knows they have to have purpose, right? It's not a secret to be successful at something. So, but the reason I think a lot of people aren't successful is because they haven't really dialed into what their actual purpose is. They have thought about it briefly.
Yeah.
But when you really dial in and say, here's my values in life, here's my purpose, here's my why, here's the people I'm doing it for, here's why I'm doing it for them, and for myself.
The plan is how you do it, but more touching on the why.
Yeah, and so it's important that even though you've heard it a billion times, to really sit and get detailed and think about it often. If you can do it, think about it every day. I mean, we're busy and we all have things we're doing, but there needs to be some point in your time where you think big picture every day, where you tell yourself affirmations.
Right.
And you make sure you're in line with what your soul wants for this earth, this time we have on earth.
Yeah, and I was literally just talking to Brandy a little bit about that today. She spoke to me a little bit about, and I mean, we can edit it how you want, but she spoke to me a little bit about just a testament to who you are. And she said to me, at 27, to sit here and run my own business and have adult conversations.
26.
Oh,
27.
I'm sorry. Well,
God, getting
my
old,
bad.
Getting old fast.
But in any case, at 26, which is even more impressive. At 26, to sit there and have an adult conversation to calm your teammate down, and formulate a plan for them and to help them get themselves together and, put them back on their own path. And, that's the mark of a leader. Like, to do all that at 26 while running a business, while also keeping your business afloat, hoping your staff, trying to get them up to your level. Yeah. Essentially, she's like, I could have never had that conversation with someone at 26 and then walked out the door and still been productive.
Right.
And she had said to me, speaking on purpose, she's like, I think he was just born to do this. Like, he was born to be in front of people. He was born to help people. He was born to do this. And I think that's a testament to who you are, but it's also very good that you've gotten into that so early in life. Not a lot of people find that. Not a lot of people find it ever. And I think that's a good thing for me. And I mean, all things happen for a reason. Maybe I'm here with you at your brokerage to see that happen because I need it, And I feel like being a faith-based person as well is we all need each other at this point in our lives, whether we see it or not. And that's just why we're here together.
Right.
But to touch a little bit on just the person you are, I think that's the reason you are successful. Like you said earlier, you know, being a good person, being decent, being a good leader, having purpose, having faith, all of that culmination into the embodiment of who you are speaks to your success. And not to get too negative, but I think it upsets people sometimes to see someone be successful, but then get to know them and know that, oh, that person deserves it. You know what I mean? I think you deserve where you're at.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. No, when you said that, it like made the hairs on the back of my neck stick up a little bit. Like, so I'm amped up right now.
Yeah.
Want to go? I don't know. Want to go help some people?
Well, that's the thing is you're good at it, and you know I think that speaks to finding your purpose, knowing your purpose, you know, knowing what you're here to do, and following that. And I think that for me at least, you know, in my own journeys, like there's certain times in my life where I felt like I was in complete alignment. You know, I knew I was exactly where I needed to be when I needed to be there. I mean, I think that's always every minute of every day, but there was times when you feel it.
Yeah,
like
it's clear.
Yeah, and I feel it more when, you know, you guys always give me a hard time about being up at 4 a.m. and being productive and active at 4 a.m.
Crazy.
But I feel it when I'm up that early.
Yeah.
Because it's that thing of like,
Gives you drive.
I'm doing it, nobody else is doing it. It's for me, it's mine. You know, everything I see, everything I smell, everything I touch while I'm doing that, it's all for me.
Right. It's putting you in a mindset.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's very important. You know, that's why I said when I walk, it's about mindset. When we work out, it's about, you know, where we want to be, but it's also about mindset, you know.
Yeah, I think I've always had an inclination to be a leader. And I think I've learned a lot in the last 2 years since opening up the brokerage. You know, in the beginning, there's definitely an art to helping people and leading people.
Sure.
You have to learn when to push and when to pull. And, you know, that was something in the beginning, it was just constantly pushing people, you know, it's like, you know, when I wouldn't see someone living up to their potential, it was like, okay, I gotta push this person to, and you end up pushing people away doing that.
It becomes very resistant. Like you actually create more resistance. Like
100%.
I heard a very good analysis of something like this is if you want to support someone, you can't always climb the rock in front of them and then turn around and outreach your hand. You more so have to stay behind them and put your hands on their shoulders and just make sure they don't fall backwards.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, is being there to stop someone from falling, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a good way to put it, I like that. It's definitely something that I'm still learning, and it's a tough thing to do, and you know, people come and people go, but the people who are meant to make an impact on your life will.
Sure.
In whatever way. And I think leading good people who are asking to be led is the most fulfilling thing.
That's a good point.
You can't lead people who don't want to be led, and that's okay. And some people are born to be leaders, that's why they're not good at being led.
Yeah.
And they just haven't realized it yet, or whatever. And you know, but definitely being a leader and trying to lead people is a tough thing that takes a lot of patience and a lot of trial and error. And you know, it's definitely an art. It's definitely an art, and anybody can lead.
And I just to speak on more, you know, what we've just talked about with, you know, Brandy telling me about that. I've also had instances where you can see it on me. I'm frustrated, and you kind of have to take me to the side and just be like, hey, chill.
Right. It's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
You know,
like relax.
Just focus on the good things that are happening.
Yeah.
You know, and it's tough because sometimes same way with momentum. It's the same concept. It's like when you're thinking about all the bad stuff that's happening.
Right.
You're going to continue to think that way, and you're going to make yourself unhappy. So, you know, sometimes you just need someone to remind you that, hey, a lot of good stuff's happening too.
Yeah, and that's a lot about mindset, and I like to look at it as there's a very good motivational speech I listen to almost every day on my walk, is that everything affects everything else. It's like every letdown affects the rest of your performance. So the key is to not be let down when there's a letdown.
Yeah.
You know, every letdown affects the rest of your performance. Every good thing affects the rest of your performance. Everything affects everything.
Mhm.
You know, so you have to. For me, I have a standard I want to live up to, and even if I'm a smidge off, it's the perfectionist in me, I guess, that I just can't shake.
Yeah.
Even if I'm a smidge off, and you've seen me like this at appointments, is like I always focus on the 1% of something I feel like I didn't do right.
Right.
You know, and that's just my standard. So if I'm not hitting it, you know, we could speak on mental health all day, but if I'm not hitting that standard, I feel like I'm not doing anything right.
Yeah, and you know, that's somewhere biologically in your history of generations of people in your family. You know, you've subconsciously learned to perfect your craft.
Yeah.
Right, and I think you know, that comes down to you know, looking at the small details in great detail.
Yeah.
And you have to do that to get better at, but you don't want to focus on it too much, right? You want to look at it and go, here's what I could have did better, and be light.
Learn to let it go, I think, has been a big thing for
Yeah.
me. It's just like, feel it, but let it go.
Feel it, learn the lesson,
Let it go, yeah.
and do it again, move on, do it better.
Sure,
You know?
yeah, and that's helped me a lot, but in
Yeah.
some instances, it's just a little slower than others, I guess, for me. But, I think that was it for my main topic points, but I did have an idea before we started, and that
Okay.
was, rapid fire questions.
All right, let's do it.
So I only have a couple, maybe I'll come up with some while I'm sitting here thinking about it, but I already know the answer to this, but this is kind of a shout out to people in the area. Best coffee in the area.
Vanessa's coffee, easy. My favorite's banana nut.
And I've
so-
had it because of you, and I don't even drink coffee, and it's pretty
Yeah,
good.
the banana nut coffee. Shout out Vanessa's coffee shop. I go there almost every single day.
Yeah, I know that. Best theme park.
Best theme park? Universal. Islands of Adventure.
Okay. Another interesting topic, respect. Is it given or is it earned?
Respect is given but easily taken away.
Okay.
Yes.
What is your, I mean, you have some hanging around the office, but what are some of your favorite inspirational quotes? Maybe give me one or two.
We rise by lifting others. I said it earlier.
Mhm.
I can see it right now.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites.
And best local eats. Can you give us some shout outs on, even if it's a chain, maybe you know someone that works there, but
Damn,
thinking more local businesses.
I'm so basic. I just love Outback.
Really?
It's my place, man. The fried mushrooms,
Okay.
cheesy fries.
It's a business that doesn't need any shout outs or any more money.
Okay, I got another good one. I think it's Florida Burger Co. It's a Cuban or a Colombian place.
Yeah.
Over there by like Badcock Furniture off of Jaffa Drive.
Yes,
So good.
Florida Coffee and Burger. I think that's
Yes,
is that what it is?
amazing.
It's right around the corner from
Fresh.
OG Fitness, guys. So
Yeah.
I know plenty of people that go to the gym actually go there.
Love that place. Fresh. They have the best avocados.
Okay.
Love it.
And then we talked a little bit about gyms in the area. What are your gyms? What are your go-to gyms?
Right now, I go to Anytime Fitness. It's just a small little hole in the wall, but it's got enough equipment, and not many people go there, so I can get in and out and get all the use of the equipment really fast. And I also go to Esporta
Okay.
and the White House BJJ and boxing. Those are my,
Yeah,
those are my three.
you mentioned the White House before. Kayla actually at OG used to go to the White House and do
Yep.
jiu-jitsu. I personally go to MJN right there off Florida and 10th. Shout out to Lucas, who is my training partner, has been very great with me and patient, and I love my journey in jiu-jitsu personally. It's been crazy, and I'm kind of in the same boat as you. It's been a couple months since I've been on the mat, and I'm chomping at the bit and jonesing to get back for sure.
You get there.
No, I know, it's just,
Slowly but surely.
Um,
One step at a time.
that was really all I had. Do you have any questions for me? Anything?
Okay, rapid fire.
And just in any sense, questions
Gotcha.
for me or rapid fire?
I got rapid fire for you.
Okay.
All right,
Okay.
so first 6 months in real estate.
What about it? Do you want me to tell you how hellacious it was? No, I'm kidding.
Whatever first comes to your mind.
Am I even 6 months in at this point?
I think you're probably exactly 6 months in.
Yeah,
Pretty close.
my first 6 months were actually not a bad experience, but I wasn't enthralled. You know, I wasn't engulfed. I went full time, what I would consider full time, fairly recently, probably about a month and a half now, right?
Okay.
When we started kind of
Right.
building the team concept, and I
Okay.
really jumped in. My first 6 months, it really wasn't my primary focus, but I did what you said is important. I showed up, right?
Right.
And that helps me a lot now. If I wouldn't have showed up at those meetings, if I wouldn't have gathered the info, I wouldn't be in the position I am in right now. You know, in kind of, I wouldn't say thriving, but I'm definitely doing a lot better than I was, which is the main goal, you know.
Okay. Best way to get business right now?
Ooh, converse, have conversations, put yourself out there. I think that's a really big thing, because if you connect with someone, they're almost always gonna ask, hey, what do you do?
Okay.
You know.
All right. Open houses, hot or not?
Hot, always, right?
Okay.
I think they are.
Cold calls.
Well, it depends on the person.
Hot or Prospecting wise, hot or not?
I think it's really hot, because I think that's pretty much been the bulk of my business thus far. It's picked up from cold calls.
Okay. Door knocking.
Pretty hot. I've only done.
Literally hot because it's 90 degrees outside?
Yeah, it's Florida. It's hot.
Okay. Royal Realty, hot or not?
Oh, on fire.
Blaming.
On fire.
You're not blaming.
Pause.
All right. I think that's, is that it? We done?
Yeah, we can
All
be
right.
done unless you have anything else you want to touch on. Any
I'm
shout
set.
outs, anything.
Shout out all the people here at Royal Realty who make this place amazing. Fran, Cleo, Brandy, Dalton, Jay. If I missed anybody, I'm sorry.
And he hates the rest of you.
Everybody else I love to. All you guys are awesome, and
Okay, well, I mean, not to be an asshole, but if you showed up, then Ian would have mentioned you. And if you're here every day.
yes, those of you guys who are here, you're trying and you're helping us build the business. And even if you're not, I still love you guys. Appreciate it.
No, I do too. I really enjoy our team. I think we have, you know, we're just scratching the surface. I mean, if there even is a surface to scratch, you know, that's kind of the idea. Is there is no ceiling.
Right.
But I
We're just getting
enjoy.
started, baby.
I definitely enjoy our team. I enjoy the personalities and many personalities that are in here, and learning from everybody. It's been fun thus far, and like you said, we're just getting started, so it's great. I enjoy my work environment.
Today we officially have 6 months left of the year. So let's get out there.
Are
and
you
crush it.
telling me you expect a lot in the next 6 months?
I'm expecting a lot. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Life changing.
expectations
Productivity.
often lead to disappointment. So.
That's all right. You gotta have them anyways.
I'm kidding.
You gotta have them anyways.
No.
Life changing productivity. That's what we're after.
I like that, and that's kind of my mission statement online right now. Is life changing. You know, I like changing lives, myself and everyone else's. So.
All right. Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been fun, and I'm sure we'll do it again. I'd like to get your dad on here to talk to me about his history in St. Cloud. But your dad is a talker, so that might be our first 4 hours.
You better
5
better
hours.
budget for 5 hours.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's probably be.
All right.
Guys, if you watch, thanks. It's been real estate.
Good one. All right. How the hell am I going to send you this video?
Can you upload it and then
An
email it to
hour-long
me?
Video. I'm going to have to figure out how to download